newszimbabwe.com.
Church of Imako ZBC. Thank you. Yes.
Mashaira Junior, Open Parliament.
Tafadhali katika ZBC.
Anyway, your time 260 Church. Thank you. At the back. We have another media personnel there. Okay. Next, members of staff, right? Thank you. Oh, from the ministry as well. Okay. That's good. Thank you. All right. Now, before you give in your introduction, Professor, I will ask you to check off, along with other key members of your staff who will be giving oral evidence to the police.
I think maybe we need to deal with the issue of honorable inquiry.
Yeah.
Because I think in terms of the rules, if a member feels that they are conflicted, then they are allowed to be excused. So we will excuse them. It's a very good example of the Public Accounts Committee. Thank you very much. I thought that you have been good
Professor, I'll ask you to take the oath.
I, Obed Jiri, swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, is nothing else but the truth, so help me God.
I, Morgan Makina, I swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing else but the truth, so help me God.
Thank you.
I, Eddie Mzulangama, swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth, so help me God. I, Leonard Nyamati, swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
I, Martin Nyati, swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
I, Betty Njeri, swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who's going to give?
Yes.
Oral evidence?
Director
Okay.
Procurement.
Okay. Can you switch off your? Thank you. Thank you.
I, Runditai Magoa, swear that the evidence that I will give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
Anyone else?
The rest can just introduce themselves.
Okay. I mean to say those who are supposed to take the oath. That's it. Okay. Thank you. All right. So we now come to the introduction, starting with you, Professor.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Professor Obed Jiri. I'm the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Lands and Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do you want to introduce the rest of your team or do you introduce themselves?
I think they can introduce themselves so that you hear themselves, their voices. In the case they are never all going to be able to sing.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable. My name is Morgan Makina, Chief Director of Finance and Administration in the Ministry of Health.
Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable. My name is Edmund Ngayama, Director of Finance and Operation in the Ministry.
Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable. My name is Leonard Mnamat. I'm Acting Chief Director for Agricultural and Rural Development and Treasury Services.
Thank you.
Good morning, Honorables. My name is Martin Munyati. I'm the Acting Director for the Department of Agricultural Engineering, Mechanization and Farm Infrastructure Development.
Thank you. You have your own mic there. For future use yourself.
That one is yours.
That one is yours. For future use. Right.
Good morning, Honorable. Betty Wenjere, the Director of Finance Trust Fund.
Thank you.
Good morning, Honorables. My name is Rumizai Magoa, Director Procurement Management Unit. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the next person.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, everyone. I'm Agnes Praise Magoa, Director responsible for strategic planning, monitoring, and evaluation in the Ministry. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members from agriculture? Yes.
Good morning, Honorables. I'm Brandon Mvura, the Senior Economist in the Department of Strategic Planning, Monitoring, and Evaluation.
Good morning, Honorables. My name is Mpuga Mitros, Chief Accountant. Good morning, Chair and everyone. My name is Chidziva Tendai, Monitoring Evaluation Officer in the Strategic Planning, Monitoring Evaluation.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor. Can I ask you to really feel at home? Parliament is for the people, and we don't eat people here. We only assist in terms of the work that is supposed to be done under our oversight role as parliamentarians. As you know, PAG is the creation of the Constitution, and we are happy that you are able to respond to our requests. So feel at home, and you are very welcome. To start off the session, I believe you were given on the website of the Auditor General's report, and we had requested that you submit your responses in writing. I believe you've done it. You've just done that. However, we've allocated questions to members of Parliament who still ask some of those questions, and please try as much as you can to respond to questions freely and honestly. I'll start with the general questions, which will be very topical at the moment in the country. And right now, we are preparing to start the new season. Could you inform the committee as to the state of your preparedness for the new season in terms of your various programs, including the presidential input form? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable members. Firstly, I would want to really welcome your call for me and for my neighbors to feel at home. Indeed, we are now feeling warm. So thank you so much for that assurance. Secondly, Honorable Chair, thank you also for inviting us to this park it's really important for us. It keeps us in check as we go through our various programs. Your ministry chair is one of the largest ministries, which wanda umya which means that the more the merrier. The more we are, our being large means also a lot of problems and also a lot of scrutiny that must come to us because we are large. Your ministry is made up of 9 programs. And these are large programs. I assure you, one of the programs accounts for 6,000 of the 18,000 employees in the ministry. That makes it very large. It is, we also have 2 programs with presence up to the ward level. It makes us one of the ministries with the presence right in the ward, in which interacts with the generality of the people. We are Ministry of Lands, which used to be a ministry on its own. We are the Ministry of Agriculture, which used to be a ministry on its own. We are Ministry of Water, which used to be a ministry on its own. We are Ministry of Rural Development, which of course used to be a ministry on its own. All these fisheries, of course, in Malawi is a ministry on its own. It's a big ministry, so, but we are managing. This is why we are excited to come here and really tell you what we are and how we are managing the resources that are given to us. In terms of our preparedness for this summer, let me say that we ordinarily break it down into 4 programs or 5. The first one is certainly the Kubuza programming, which Honorable Mugwadi has to excuse himself because we deal with the honorables when we get into an area. So our interaction becomes very personal. So we have started that. The second programming is that which used to be called Command, which is now the National Enhanced Agricultural Productivity Scheme running through the banks, CBZ, WILD, and AFC. So that's the second program. The third one is what we motivated through the contractors, the private sector, where we said all the contractors that use our agricultural produce as raw materials must contribute to the production of those raw materials. So the millers mainly, we also group them to say, so what is your target? Yes, you target the 40% minimum or exceeding that. So we have those categories of the Farm Food Contractors Association who are really contributing a lot to production of their raw materials. The last category is that of the self-financed farmers who, raise their own resources and farm. The farmers who, go to the banks, who try to raise their finances. So those are the 4 main categories. The fifth one, which is a bit cross-cutting, is what we're trying to revive ADA to become the food security agent. As you know, ADA is farms and states across the country. The purpose must be for the production of food. So we have set a target for ADA to say this season they must produce 100,000 hectares. They have buildings, they have assets which they must sweat to ensure that they finance this 100,000 hectares of cereals, because that is what we want to contribute to the strategic. So that's the program, which also tends to be cross-cutting, but to emphasize that ADA must use the assets that they have to sweat and finance, not to get money from finance for production. Coming back to our state of preparedness, I would say that in terms of the other programming, yes, they got through and gotten a bit of finance in terms of their facilities that they operate. So I can confirm that ADA is there. They have a fuel facility for the farmers that they will go into JVs with. They also have a finance window with the AFC now to finance, particularly the working capital. We know that they have a facility with fertilizer companies to ensure that their farmers get fertilizer. I would also know that there's other seeds. So in terms of seeds, they take from their own. So ADA is very much prepared now for the season. From their last report, they've said they've contracted more than 50,000 hectares already for this summer season. They are focusing mainly on maize and the traditional grains. In terms of the Food Contractors Association, the private sector, those are always ahead, Honorable Chair. They are in business. So they are prepared. We have given them a target which we have agreed, and they are working towards that. They produce mainly maize and soybean, and this is the AFC and CB that are yield. Other banks also coming in. So in the last window, we had NFB coming in strongly, and also 4 other banks we expressed interest to finance it through the NIAPS model. In terms of the Kumbuza programming, Honorable Chair, we are getting there. We are not yet fully ready as usual, which is what we don't want. We would wanted to be as ready as we must at this particular time. But the season is now starting, and we have out there 50% of our seed, 49% of our compound fertilizer is now out there. The seed, we will have all of it, I think, by the end of this week. All the seed we require will be out in the farms, except maybe traditional grains, which some of it has to be imported. The main challenge on the Kumbuza programming is certainly the financing of it. Our contractors, whom we have, Valley Seeds, FSG, fertilizer, ZFC, fertilizer, windmill, fertilizer, and the Q-ton for cotton seed, they are all in excess of more than $300 million for the 2020, 2021 season, 2021, 2022 season, 2022, 2023 season, and to date. So we owe them quite a lot. And this is what delays the movement, because if we don't pay, they can't move the inputs. So the delay in the movement of inputs is really because of that legacy debt, which I know that after SADC conference, finance is now tend towards supporting agriculture so that we prepare for the season. It has been slow, happening slowly. Hence, we've been able to move about 50% of the fertilizer, which is the major bulk input. We think that we should be done, if resources are available today, we should be done moving the fertilizer. By mid-month, mid-November, we should be able to move all the inputs. Thereafter, it becomes very difficult because of the terrain that the trucks have to move. So the preparedness on the Kumbuza programming is that we are moving with what we are able to do outside the resource requirement, particularly to pay the suppliers and also the transporters. The transporters, they transport food aid, but they also transport inputs. When you don't pay them there, they also don't have the resources to move there. So it's what is the major problem now. The transporters can't move, the inputs can't move, the suppliers can't move because they are old. So we are prepared, we are getting there. In terms of what we can do outside financing, in terms of conscientizing farmers to do their Fubuza plot, we are on 86% of the Fubuza plots that should be done. We need 9.2 million Fubuza plots, and we've done so far, as of today, 92% of that. So the farmers are really prepared, and they are geared to producing tobacco. We're also doing well, I think, planting of the irrigated crop, and those that we do fed is on the high side. I think we are better than we were last season in terms of tobacco. In terms of the transition to summer, moving from winter to summer, the rains are giving us headache, Honorable Chair. As you know, most of the wheat, I think we've removed 69% of the wheat that has been harvested. What's remaining is being rained on, and it's our headache. We are particularly worried with the Marsh West, where we have harvested 62%, Marsh East, and Marsh Central, we have harvested 70%. The balance is still in the field, so we've conscientized combine harvesters, dryers, and people to go into those provinces because they ordinarily account for 80% of our wheat. So that's where we are focusing now. As the rains are starting, we want that wheat out. So that transition really is important to us, and we are on course to, of course, have another record winter wheat. Of course, when we do that, so far we have harvested 428,000 metric tons. 56% of 56,000 metric tons are already in GMP. And you know what that means, Honorable Chair, when farmers deliver to GMP. We are already owed, they are already owed in excess of $30 million on account of wheat that's coming to GMP. So these are this is the scenario that we are. We are prepared, we are your ministry, and we soldier on. Thank you, Honorable Chair. I hope I have responded effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I'll get to a few more general issues as well. I didn't know the members. You had questions? Follow-up questions? Yes. Do you want to put them forward now?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Professor, for such a comprehensive update. But looking at a few questions maybe to follow up, looking at the scenario that is there now where we have El Nino induced drought because there was food shortage in delivering our food to people from GMP. What have you put in place for us to be able to deliver the seed to the people? Looking at now, because most of the transporters are saying we are not yet paid, we do not have fuel to transport. And also maybe to put in due diligence, what due diligence have we done in terms of, especially from Burundi where I'm coming from, where people were just given full, input last time without due diligence being given, and some of them end up being arrested. And as a result, I can safely say from Burundi, most of them are saying because Burundi is in red, and yet we are now ready for the harvest. And for us now to be able to access other, it becomes a manual task. And what mechanism put? And the last one is that because of the drought, the cattle died, and what mechanism we put in place so that our people can be able to plow. Since look at this La Nina, which is a good favorable season, what are we doing in order for us to have food security? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable. Yes, Professor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Honorable Pastor Kandausa. So the El Nino drought, yes, it affected us in a big way, and we are still in that same, although we're at the tail end of it. The La Nina is now with us. I'll start with the last bit where we say cattle died, and yes, besides them dying, there are those that are dead. They are walking dead. They can't fly those ones. They will die. So this is the lean season, where even outside the drought, cattle would still be in very poor condition in this particular moment. So this is why we have in the ministry a whole directorate focused on mechanization and engineering and farm infrastructure. With that, that is also why we have these Belarus facilities and so forth, to ensure that there is access to tractors. So for the commercial farmers, those must utilize these facilities. They are not only cheap and affordable, but they have good terms for the commercial farmers to get a tractor, pay for your produce, because for the commercial farmers, they must really know that farming for them is a business, it's a livelihood, and they must have the equipment to go with. So we have 600 tractors under AFC of those Belarus, but we also have other banks that have come on strong, the Women's Bank, CBZ, NMB, and the like. We have realized the value from this. So for the commercial farmers, they must access these tractors. But we also set up the AFC leasing, which is tractors, to ensure that those farmers that require access to tractor power, the tillage power, they can always approach the nearest AFC and get the tractor to lease or to hire a tractor to do the tilling for them. And so AFC is always available for that. The AFC leasing, that's their preoccupation. The challenge obviously is the attachments to the tractor, the CROs and so forth, which are in limited supply. We had not gotten into a facility to import these attachments, the equipment, because we wanted the local industry to also produce these, so that we can get value from our own local industries. That is still work in progress, although we are working with Zimplow and other local manufacturers to ensure that we have attachments to these tractors. But those tractors are there. In fact, when they are being serviced at Mount Hampton, there, you see a lot of them. They are waiting for farmers to come and hire them. And when it's AFC, the hiring is done. Mainly the challenge is on fuel, which I think we have a solution now. But farmers can also apply fuel and tractor hire, dry rate, wet rate, and so forth. Then we negotiate payment terms for the hire. In terms of the other JV programming, yes, Urungwe has been on a bad patch. In fact, most of the farmers who are misbehaved were from Urungwe district. But they are farmers. There's nothing we can do. Sometimes it's not many of them. It's a couple who take advantage of laxing systems and paying Urungwe land. But here, Urungwe district is the district that produces 33% of our tobacco. We are not ordinary area. 1/3 of it comes from one district, and then the rest. So it's an important district which we can't ignore. So even if those farmers misbehave, we want them. They are good. So the other JV is supposed to sort out all that. Other must do its due diligence on each and every farm. And so when they give input, they know who they are giving. So it's not incumbent upon the farmers. It's incumbent upon the GMP, upon the ad. If Chair, I go to a tuck shop and I buy something which requires change, and the shopkeeper gives me more change. I will not complain. I will not complain. So this is the same thing with the Urugu. It's incumbent upon others to do due diligence. I think this year we have tried to really streamline and ensure that we are good on that. In terms of the delivery of the seed and the transporters, it's our contract with the Valley the major supplier of seed, is to ensure that they deliver to the GMB. So that transport to GMB is covered in the contract. We expect that they should be able to deliver according to their schedules and before the start of the planting season. So we are pushing them to ensure that in every GMB we give them a schedule and they deliver. But yes, the onward distribution from GMB to the farmers is where the problem is, because that again is the responsibility of the GMB to move those inputs to the farmers. But now GMB owes the transporters. What these same transporters that we have who are transporting social welfare food now and who are owed from the previous years, and these are the same transporters we want to use. The challenge is that we have not paid. And so we continue to see situations where farmers then innovate, say let's contribute and so forth. But we also then see situations where the transporters also innovate and they charge $5 per day. It becomes an issue where, to me, from a Catholic point of view, the inputs must get to the farmer free of charge. That is our commitment. These delays, which lead to farmers and transporters innovating, really we cannot condone that, neither can we control it, but eventually we need the farmers to plant. So we look at case by case to see what is happening. In most cases, farmers and transporters and other people, they report to us to say, we are being told to pay this. We go there and we investigate. We talk to the people, we realize that they have an agreement. So most of those cases would then not go anywhere because then the parties would have agreed. But where we see abuse, the abuse of inputs, this happens particularly when the inputs leave the GMB to the distribution points. That's where the abuse normally happens. First is that the people that collect from GMB, the committees that we put, led by councillors and so forth, they would also want to ensure that they become vulnerable, which we don't condone. So the inputs are meant for the vulnerable people, and those are the ones that must be prioritized. Situations where we see the committees try first to distribute among themselves, that is wrong. And we have cases of councillors and other members, senior members of the public who are not necessarily vulnerable, but who get inputs, and that's wrong, and we condemn that. What we have done, Chair, is to ensure that we roll out an e-inputs distribution module, which ensures that every person who receives inputs, it has to be in our database of vulnerable people. And that database should be with the head office and should be with our aggregates officials on the ground. Aggregates is the secretariat to the distribution committee, so they must have that. What normally causes this abuse Is that the
I don't
only?
know the chair. I think because of time, let's limit our responses because we have a lot of questions.
No, thank you, Chair. I think I have made the point.
Yes, sure. Thank you. You have been very generous. Yes,
Just a follow-up with the quick one. On your state of preparedness, there are some people that are not into Fubuta. I'm sure I thought you were going to talk about those who want to join the court scheme, for example. How far are you? How many have benefited in the past? And how much or what the total cost? And also maybe your chicken scheme. Is it still running? If it's running, how many farmers have benefited? And how can other farmers also benefit? And lastly, the village business units. How many have you done so far? How are the beneficiaries identified? And also, are you going for tender for the companies that you are contracting? And also the issue of standards. It's always coming up everywhere in Parliament. Do you have a mechanism where you look into the standard of the materials that are being used? Because there are some schemes where a ball, after a few weeks, it breaks down and so forth. So those are my three quick follow-up questions on your state of preparedness.
And also maybe you could add the issue of heifers for the youth. The same question. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Honorable Wendy. I will try to do justice, but these are big things. But I will allow my teams to get the current numbers so that I don't get them wrong. So on the good scheme, you would of course know that we ran into problems with that, particularly the supplier who couldn't supply the goods as we should. We are really concerned because the goods that were supposed to be delivered and the payment that was made with time. You would know that this case is before the courts now, after we reported to get recourse. So, but this one is not going well. It's something that we are thinking out of the goods that we wanted delivered. We only got about 4,807, I think 6,978. Those were the goods that were delivered to date. 6,978. The payment that was done was able to deliver 86,000 goods. That was the potential that could have been delivered. So out of 86,000, only 6,978.
No, can you ask your question to the chair, please? Carol.
Thank you.
My apologies.
So of course the major bone of contention was this non-delivery, but before that it was the price for goods, which we tried to negotiate within the confines of the contract to say that goods must go to this, and I think we had agreed to a decent price. But even when we had agreed, the delivery could not happen. But as I said, Chair, this issue is before the courts, so we wait that due process to also that we recover from this, Honorable Chair. In terms of poultry, this one is one of the best programs that is considered. These targets to give the vulnerable households 10 chicks each. And this is what is being rolled out. We have so far distributed 1,695,259 chickens that have been rolled out to the community. Chicks, yes, that have been rolled out to the communities. And this is still ongoing. We are working together with the community, with the contractor, and also rolling out well. So the beneficiaries of the poultry is really all the households, all the vulnerable households in the rural areas. The VBUs, the village business units, these targets every village. This is why they are village. So every village, 35,000 of them must benefit. And we have had, of course, this issue of standards, 60 micron, 9 micron, and so forth, which we are also concerned with, because once the pipe is in the ground, you can only see the ball collapse. That's when you realize it was the wrong one used. But we have tightened now to ensure that if anything collapses within a reasonable time, the contractor must do the needful and replace. So that we have really noted, and we are attending to that. The tenders for the contractors, these are ordinarily done through ZINWA. ZINWA is the water engineer. The contract these people who do the rigs, and the contract is for putting the bore and also the garden. So it's just one contract, and these they are monitored under ZINWA as well. As ministry, we also do our monitoring and evaluation to see how many VBUs are there, how many are functional, how many are selling, what are they selling. And so every Monday, 7 a.m., we have a meeting with ZINWA, HAMA, ADA, FC, all these involved in the business of a VBU to ensure that they tell us how much money they put in the VBUs. The AMA tells us what is selling and how much has been sold in the past week. ADA will tell us how many are functional, and ZINWA will tell us how many they've done. So those numbers, I think, they are from the meeting that we had this morning for the latest numbers, which we will avail to you before the end of this brief. The youth AFAS, the chair, those ones, again, it was, we were given these to caretake on behalf of the youth. We put them in at 8 centers across the provinces. Each province was supposed to have 70 youths that supported cattle. We got 590 when they were given. The rest, the balance between 590 and 700 was not delivered by the person who offered to deliver it. However, over the last year, we managed to grow that year from 590 to 693, which is what we now handed over to the Ministry of Youth to give to those youths. So as at the moment now, we don't have any more acres. They are all distributed now to the youth. We had to say, because they were supposed to be 70 in each province, which meant 700, but we had grown them to 693. So the ministry to then say, let's also contribute the 7 to make sure that every province gets 70. The onward distribution was now under the purview of the Ministry of Youth for the youth. So at the moment, because the AFAS are no longer the ministry. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
I think there's an issue that you didn't respond to. Because I'm sure you know we public accounts, the figures to us are more important than the other people. So you have skimmed for example, what he was trying to emphasize, how much, because you know how much you were paying per goat. And we would also want to know the chickens the total cost that was involved, and how much you were paying the 10 chicks that you were supplying the household. And then also on the business units that you are contracting for the agricultural, what you call it, the board. Yeah. How much are you also paying the unit, the board drilling, and also the fencing? Then lastly, maybe for purposes of because some of this information that you might not get, can we also get from your ministry on the three schemes, the beneficiaries per province, right? On the boards, on the chiefs, and on the business units, and maybe you can submit those documents for us to proceed with our inquiry. But the pricing, I'm sure you can assist us pricing now. So if you think you want to submit it as a part of the documents that you will submit, it will still be fine as long as all the details are captured.
Okay, thank you, Chair. And thank you, Honorable Wende. I think these ones, you could, I could easily avail them. And I know that you required this as well. But for the goats, we negotiated from 250 for the Matebele goat, 300 for the poor goat. We negotiated to 98 for the goats. That is what we have now agreed on. We will avail the contract for that purpose. The VPUs, those differ really, but we have a standard costing of a VPU, which again will avail to you. Roughly with the board drilling up to equipmentation, solarization, and putting the first crop, we're looking at 16,000 around there, depending of course on how much you use for the ball, and then the nature of the field, fencing, and so forth. But we will avail that detail. This is 16,000 US. VPU. Generally, but it varies. Sometimes you also get where the ball is already been sunk, so the cost goes down. Sometimes you go many meters down. The super rig material deposits, for example, it becomes quite expensive. And then of course, expanding the VPU data for the livestock, those small things also pay the cost. But we will avail ourselves, honorable Chair. The poultry, I think again, we will avail the figures in terms of what is the costing. Generally, it was $3 per chick, $3.50 per chick. Yes. Day old. It's not day old. We wanted them not to die, so we had said we wanted them between 14 and 28 days. So the cost of feed and the stress pack was in the transportation. $3.50 per chick. It is a chick. It is a chick that is fed, that has been vaccinated. How many weeks? That has been, so this is 4 weeks, 38 days, 14 weeks, between 2 and 4 weeks. So, and then the feed, of course. We have to also cut to pigs, so that where you find them being distributed as day old chicks, his costs of feed and so forth would have been adjusted. But generally, the 350 included the feeding for the 4 weeks, the vaccinations, and then the transportation to anywhere where they are required. So that generally the cost. But the other details will also submit in this year. Chair, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, perhaps what time frame? When can we have
These are ordinary available who are available this by tomorrow.
Okay.
And also include the list of the suppliers that are supplying different categories. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can
Honorable
I have
members,
my document? I think let's move.
No.
Just excuse me, honorable members. We want to move on to the set questions.
Yeah, I understand you, Chair.
Thank you.
It's Benny.
Yeah,
Thank you, Chair. Right, on the state of preparedness for this season, yes, and for the program, I understand there is now a requirement for beneficiaries to provide certified ID copies. Is this feasible?
That was one of our GMBs who were overzealous. So we have already set a circular to say that we don't want that. So we took note of that and we actioned. Thank you, Chair.
Well, thank you, honorable members. With your indulgence, we now move on to the set questions. Starting with the question 1.1. Professor, we are dealing with two financial years here. 31 December, the year ended 31 December 2022, and 31 December 2023. I will ask Honorable Wende to take the first question that has to do with direct payment.
So thank you very much. I think also thank you for submitting detailed answers. So maybe when you speak for the purpose of time, just be brief, because we will then go through the submissions that you have given, so that if we need anything further, we can then refer to you. The three questions. Please explain what direct payments are, and how they are supposed to be accounted for. What steps have you taken to obtain supporting documents and account for the direct payments worth 272 million? And why you are aware in the Auditor General's report that there were direct payments of $272 million, and there were no supporting documents. And what is the current position regarding the issue of direct payments? So in your answer also, please note also that I think you appeared before the public committee again, and there was a report and the recommendations on the issue of direct payments. So in your answer, maybe you need to also deal with that. Thank you very much.
May I ask honorable members to familiarize yourselves with the answers, the responses, so that if there are any follow-ups, you just focus on the follow-ups. Because I think if you look at this, the schedule that is prepared, it gives us everything, the observation, the question, as well as the response. So let's focus on the follow-ups. Thank you. Professor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Honorable Women and Honorables. So on the 1.1, the direct payments, these are payments that are done by Treasury, straight to the suppliers. And I think that's the short of it. Like the Chair said, the details have really been given in there in our submission. We, on 1.12, we have identified and declared 98% of these identified payments. The other 2% which is left, we are waiting for resources from Treasury to ensure that these are paid. And then on the third one, the current payment, the current position, it is that we are encouraging and engaging with Treasury to say that as much as possible, tell us when you want these direct payments. But we've also gone a notch further and say every month we sit with the Treasury to see the schedule of these direct payments so that we can reconcile within our system. So that is, in short, Chair, what we are doing. So those monthly engagements are continuing with the Treasury and our Minister. Thank you, Chair.
Maybe let's say a supplementary. And can you please just unpack the 272 billion the direct payments were in relation to what? And to what suppliers?
Thank you, Chair. Most of these for us are for the big capital projects, the dams mainly. Those are the ones that go for a lot, and some payments also to our input suppliers. Remember the figure that I gave you of more than 300 million. Most of these they get direct payments. So input suppliers, particularly to Valley, to FSG, and then to the various contractors on the dams. Those are the candidates and culprits for direct payments ordinarily. Now, some of the restructuring that has been done, or the restructuring of the debt, means that there are now standing payments from Treasury, particularly to the fertilizer suppliers. So it's just re-standing obligations that now Treasury does, which also contribute to these direct payments. But the details, the team can also assist me to ensure that they give us a schedule of these direct payment candidates.
So maybe what you can do to save time, can you, as part of the documents that you submit tomorrow, give us a schedule showing the accounting for the 272 million direct payments, the supplier, the amount, and the services provided, so that we can then, when we do our evaluation, look into it.
So in fact, 266 million. 266 million. The 5 million we are yet to account for, is that right?
Yes. But what Nigeria can we confirm? And maybe also the 2% which you said you are waiting for payment. I thought these were documents that are not there. The payment you are waiting for, in order for you to clear the 2%, what is it for? Maybe it's a follow-up, but maybe the Auditor General, we need to know if you are happy with this response, that the documentation has been upheld, which was missing.
Thank you, Honorable. We appreciate the response, but we are yet to validate that.
When you say, did you receive anything from them, or what? Because if you are saying that we appreciate and we are waiting to validate, what is that?
Through you, Chair, maybe if they can confirm that they have shared the information, the vouchers with the audit office. I'm not sure then. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, we are yet to share the documents with the external auditor. Okay, my colleague said you shared the audit of there.
No, through you, Chair.
Yes, yes. I think before you can, I think we need straight answers, straight, honest answers, so that we don't have a situation where we spend a lot of time on an issue which is supposed to be, yes, we share it, or no, we haven't shared. But on your statement here, you're saying you've identified it clearly. The question is, if you now pass on those that you've identified for validation by the Auditor General.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We did send the document to our desk. And the proof of that what we did. All they wanted was to then identify the document numbers in the system to say this was captured in the system. That's all what was required. The whole condition here is whatever was paid by Treasury directly to the supplier was not captured in the system.
So we had to then get in the system, identify the document numbers relating to those payments, and then we submitted a schedule to our desk officer, which we thought we shared
Who is the desk officer?
Let me ask my chief accountant to phone that. There is the person who said it.
But the person works for the water general.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Also, when you put the desk officer.
Yes, Chair, the desk officer was the person who was auditing us was Ms. Kidida. So we sent it to him. Ms. Kidida.
Okay. Can you also maybe as part of the document that you are presenting, share with us the proof that you submitted so that we can move?
So the timeline for that is also tomorrow, since we have it on hand. Okay. And what's going to happen to the 5.7 million, 2%?
Yes, for the 2%, we have already identified the documents. So what would not be required, we are in less treasury, so that they also open the accounting period, which is a close period, so that we enter in that period and capture them. But we've identified the supplier, we've certified who was paid, and what is now required now to enter the documents into the system, so that it's captured.
But you are saying you are waiting a release of resources from Treasury. And if I understand his response, intervention correctly, he says this was a simple question of identifying the suppliers that have been paid directly, going to your system and entering, right? So these resources that you are waiting to be released, they are resources for what? Because it's not clear. I asked that initially. Do you need to be paid to enter into your system and record the serial numbers?
Thank you, Jeff. What happens is, after we have identified the document that is 272, we then we left with it some 3 or 2 items that we need to capture in the system. So what then needs to be done is to have a budget equivalent to the amount paid in US dollars in our currency, so that we can then do the process of capturing in the system. So it requires a provision from Treasury. It's around 5 million is a big amount. We don't have that budget in the system. So what then is required is them to open the period so that we can process the document.
Mr. Chair, clarity.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I need clarity. How then do you work on a budget of the money which has already been disbursed? When it was disbursed then, how then was it disbursed and under what circumstances if there is no budget?
Yes.
Yes, I think from our submission, we've said there are 2 scenarios that happen when the payments are done in that submission. What happens is when it's the ministry that is initiated the direct payment, it will be going into the system, capture the expenditure, submit those documents to Treasury for them to pay on our behalf. Right? Then there is another scenario where Treasury then pays without us having packed and process the document in the system.
And they will be paying for what? Because these are the things from your ministry. Apart from a voter and direct payment, is it kind of the same kind of?
No.
Because what we think the Parliament appropriates funds to the ministry,
yes.
Right? So, money, was it in your appropriation account? Was it budgeted for, or is outside that? And so that we just clarify. We need you to clarify the matters in simple terms, so that we can see where the problem is.
Sorry, Chair, that's what we do.
Yes, I'll allow you.
Thank you, Chair. Chidango Zirapa Tawana, Chair Honorable. The Roti. Our one Padrama,
Mimi mutori muofisi menyu, Ministry of Finance yobhadhira mari kesupply. Zvimusutoziya imi. Chinenge chamotivata Ministry of Finance kubhadhira mari chii? Vanenge vachizvionepi? Because vanobhadhira mari kuministry kubasa raitwa reMinistry of Agriculture. Nekuministry vacho vasutoziya. Vasina kupresenta budget yekuti tibhadharire $2. Kutobhadhara. Vanenge zvinenge zvichibvira. Yes. You respond. I think in your response, I think try and make it simpler for us to understand the system to start with.
Let me try to simplify it. It's kind of. But what happens is, Chair and Honorable Members of Parliament, what happened is, in 2023, you appropriated as 362 billion. It rose through what we call unallocated reserves. Right? So it is from those reserves that we are talking about that then we manage because it's difficult that we have came. Right? Now, the amount that is not being captured in the system were not known that the Treasury had paid us for these suppliers. Although those suppliers had done the job for ministry. For instance, the one item that was not captured then was payment to AFC insurance. Right? So we wrote to them to say there is an insurance that needs to be paid. But instead of them, first of all, releasing the money to our ministry so that we can process and then submit to them for the government to pay, they then paid from that other side to the ANC, and then they want us then to liberalize in the system. That's in a nutshell.
Can I just follow up? When Treasury makes a direct payment, what is reflected in your accounts? Is this just the figure of payment, or it will be two figures? The one that brings in the money and the one that takes out the money.
Okay, thank you, Chair. First, I want to say most of the direct payments are for the US dollar, whereas ministries would not maintain US dollar account. It's maintained centrally at the Treasury, where they do the disbursements, and as a ministry we will do the Zimbabwe dollar equivalent to that amount. Our budget is local currency. Then we will spend the local currency, and the Treasury will pay the US dollar equivalent from the central US account. So that the ideal situation, but in most of the cases, like what was said, we would have done the request, and then since we don't, it's different from the Zimbabwe dollar where they first send the money into our account and we just deduct the spending. For those US dollar payments, Treasury sends the money to the supplier, and then we are supposed now to capture the local currency equivalent into our system, because our expense, our budget is in local currency. Hence, we will spend the equivalent of that amount at the exchange rate of the date of the transaction. So mostly that's what will happen. That for the most of the US dollar, Treasury does the payment on our behalf. Even if we initiate the transaction at the ministry, we will do the park post and do the local currency. And now request Treasury that may you please pay this US dollar equivalent of this for us, for these suppliers who would require the US dollar. I think that's where the issue now comes out. So when you say want to pay for the issues which requires US, Treasury cannot account for the insurance, the FC, that the disbursements, and probably at the end of the day they send the communication that we have paid to our supplier, now put the amount in the system. So that's where the gaps comes out. Was probably the delayed communication between what Treasury would have done. But normally the communication comes from us. Normally we advise them that we owe this one, it's in the US, may you please assist.
Thank you. Can you confirm that the 272 million direct payments akabhadharwa imimi ma-initiator process because ndimi ministry ndinoziva zvinhu zvinoda kubhadhara mapepa because I'm follow that pakadai pasina problem yekuti the auditor arrives when there are no papers muda kubhadhara mbudzi handizva ndimi muri kuti ministry tibhadharirewo 7 million mbudzi isati nama-US dollar handizva vokubhadharira. So can you confirm kuti these 272 million, all of these 272, the request to pay is initiated from your ministry? I'm asking this because you appeared before this public account committee, the money account, and your officer told this committee that some of the direct payments they did not know. And the reason why we are worried, there are suppliers that complain that if you don't pay 10% to certain people, is not paid. So if that's the reason why we are following this thing up, so that later on when you do that inquiry, we want to fish out this problem because we expect you to be requesting all the payment. Then foreign currency also minutes. So can you clarify that? And I think we must remind you that you are still under oath because this is very important. And also there is the testimony that you have previously given here as a minister. So maybe you can go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And yeah, but it's no. Azvina kidzikora mukurangaridzwa nyaya yekumakwai izvo inonokubohwa onewo kuti this could have been done better. We all love this government not to plan the resources, but yes, Chair, most of these resources that took the hand of my resources ekuti tinenge taita request kuti tibhadharewo izvi, and sometimes once, sometimes many times we change and so forth, and then it also no better about what also the 10% share that is corruption. For some of us, we really don't want that we have made real noise about, and we know we heard about that. It's not something that we want to talk about. Yes, my suppliers, the same suppliers, because any contract, sometimes I can supply, they go to Treasury direct to the human resources and so forth and so forth. It is there where you find this one was already paid. So some of those things, they do happen, but we can't answer that because we won't be there in the negotiation. This is where some of these become problematic to trace because it's a matter of us reconciling to say, you are saying we paid this, but we are not seeing in the system. So on no tracker, so I have to talk about on the back, but my cases where my suppliers are in the low bar and to see specific officers and say, do this, they do have it. Thank you.
I think we should move on.
Just one.
I think let's move on. Let's move on, honorable members. The next question is to do with salary and wages in kind. And who is taking that one? Honorable Kandosari. Kandosari 1.2. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I've seen the response here, but anyway, let me read this. The Ministry's salary and wages in kind ledger disclosed a nil balance despite the fact that 58 officers were paid part of their benefits in kind amounting to 672,768,000, which is almost 448 and 80 liters paid $1.60 per liter. As fuel allowance and communication allowance amounting to $34 million and 21,974. This compensation of employee costs that were charged to the goods and service ledgers were supposed to be disclosed under salaries and wages in kind. This was caused by the inadequate provision for the expenditure. The ministry should have processed instead of allocating expenditure to goods and services. My three questions are: please explain the accounting process involved in settling salaries and wages in kind. And the second one being, can you explain why salaries and wages in kind were not disclosed in the appropriate share account? And the last one, what is the current position regarding the non-disclosure? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Rosa. I requested members to come up with supplementary, so that we
have that, yeah, surely. They have given their responses.
They've given their responses, and if you have any supplementary follow-up questions, then we can entertain those.
Yeah, but my supplementary question is, looking at in the scenario, especially of fuels, and I'm sure these are some of the corporate, are they not abused? Are they not prone to abuse if they are not allowances that are given at times in terms of fuels, allowing the communications, and they not be abused? Do you think so? If they are not accounted properly, are they not prone to abuse?
Sure. Yes, Professor?
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Honorable Ngausaro. I think certainly they would be open to abuse. So one of the things that we did is to separate condition of service and the operations fuel. So now that separation is now there to ensure that a person receives fuel for their condition of service, and then when they want to go to the field, they get fuel for that, not what used to happen in the past, which led to this problem. So now it's separated, and that is what we are implementing. Thank you, Chair.
Any other follow-ups on that? You are happy? Thank you. We move on to item 2, which has to do with governance issues. And 2.1 relates to unallocated reserve transfers. Who's taking that one?
Yes, it's me, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've gone through the questions and as well, I've gone through the responses, and I'm sure they've been answered.
You are happy with that?
It looks clear to me. Only that with regards to the unallocated funds, as to how they are dispersed, it looks to be a gray area. Even the explanation is not thorough. Even the explanation is not thorough. It goes back to the initial question which has been what. But otherwise, most of the questions were touched. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Sam. Honorable members, anyone with follow-up question or supplementary on 2? Governance issues? No issues. Okay. There is also 2.2 on risk assessment. Any follow-up or supplementary? Honorable Sam?
Yeah, no, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the answers are very clear.
Honorable members, anyone? Okay, we move on to Minister Corporation of Government Resources 2.3. It's with you again, Honorable Sam.
Yeah, probably I'll ask on 2.33.
2.33. On what steps have you taken to recover the misappropriated resources? Well, the response is retired. On 2.33. Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sure.
Yes, 2.33.
If you look at the
Questions of the committee, 2.3.3, which says what steps are taken to recover the misappropriated resources. Yes, you have responded, but can you speak to us on steps that you have taken to recover those misappropriated resources? Thank you. I believe these are the taxpayers' money.
Thank you, Chair. I think where we have had these cases and where they have been reported, we've also taken initiatives to recover these. In Manicaland, for example, where the one case was reported, it goes report certainly, so we wait for the court process. And then once it finishes, we then are guided as such. But we also try to check within our system. We have the command officers, those are our loss control officers now. They follow through and ensure that they guard those resources so that they are not squandered. And then also the process internally where we do our disciplinary to ensure that if our officers are involved, we also recover the same. So it's a thorny issue, particularly where it involves outsiders, but where it involves insiders, we quickly deal with that in terms of recovery from the salary and also ensuring that it's punitive to recover our resources. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it possible if the PS would avail details to the committee? Because the answer to this was more general, but the Auditor General had highlights of areas that were losses. If you can highlight what they have done to this specific area, and this one is before the courts and whatnot in detail, so that they give that report to the committee.
Thank you. You want to switch off yours first? Thank you. As a follow-up to what Honorable Sami said, can you give specific details to the cases? For example, the Nika case. Okay. What was recovered? How much has been recovered so far? What remains to be recovered? And in the case of someone who passed on, how are you going to recover those resources? Full details for each specific case, because we are dealing with the misappropriation of public funds. So you need to be much more specific and much more thorough. I think that's what Honorable Mutsabi is saying.
And just to add also, where you refer to that, we will need also the reference numbers so that we also follow up, right? And even where you have reported the matter to the police, we need that also so that we can follow up. But why don't you fire it? Because if someone steals, then you have an option of deducting money through.
Public Service Commission. So we do as the guide. So in some cases it becomes really frustrating, but we will be guiding like that. Thank you, Chair.
When can you provide that information?
I think these will need some time to follow through SAC and ZRP and then SSB. Those are third parties we should run it for now. So, a reasonable time will be like a month. So maybe 2 weeks, Chair.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Okay. 2 weeks is okay. Record it. We need 2 weeks for that information to be submitted. Okay. Honorable members, any follow-ups on 2.3? I mean, 2.3? No, not that. I will done 2.2, and then 2. Going to 3. Procurement of goods and services, delivery of assets. Who is doing that now?
Myself.
Yes,
yeah. I've gone through the responses against my questions, and I've seen justice from the responses, except for 3.3.1, which comes as a supplementary. The question is, why were the 4 vehicles not delivered in the first place? There I didn't see the response.
3 point.
On 3.3.1.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. These 4 vehicles, they are just from a supplier called Magaris, and it has been problematic. They are non-delivery, and just like for all other non-deliveries within the ministry from the same supplier, is because I think to me it's deliberate. He gets money, knowing very well that after some time the agent would do this, and then he says your money is now, or then it guesses, then it was $10, wanted to go to the auction, he deliberately says, I was not allocated the money, and so forth, so it goes. So it has been problematic, but we have since sent this to Sub-Fend so that we can recover. Otherwise, we have stopped all further procurement from this particular supplier. Thank you, Chair.
But you see, I'm glad that you observe that it's also deliberate on the part of the supplier. Because this Mike is not only with your ministry, is in almost every ministry. But the question is, why do you still give him card? Because he is in 2019 report, 2020 report, 2021 report, 2022 report. Because you as the accounting officer, you must be able to be in a position to say, in this ministry, this person, you see, because this is a cartel, and we are going to do a further inquiry, just an inquiry on motor vehicles only. Because we have also correctly observed that it's a scam, where, because when you come, you are given a contract in US dollars, you come knowingly on that date, the rate day. Where is your marima account? Makano Zunga, Mutasi Marino, Baga, because they choose a value. You see what it's not. I got or each the value and so forth.
Response, Chair. It goes even further than that. We have so we've stopped procuring from this one, but we've also stopped any other services like vehicle servicing, for example. We can't go to servicing vehicles to a person who is treating us like so. Only in the ministry we have really taken that, and my directors here have rejected payments for servicing or anything to do with the supply.
Okay, thank you. We move on. Item 4, revenue collection and debt management. Who's taking that one?
Myself, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yes. Outstanding revenue.
Yeah, my question is on 412. 412. So how do you explain the outstanding revenue amount of 2.2 trillion disclosed in the outstanding revenue return? Only 2
So what is that? 2.6 billion, right?
Yeah.
It's
Million.
Million.
Is this million?
No.
This is billion. 2.6 billion.
Yeah. One the amount of more than 2.6.
This is. Anzema's billion, but on question is trillion.
I'm going down there.
No, thank you, Chair. So you know that we have more than 300,000 A1 farmers, 23,000 A2 farmers. So we were giving invoices to this to say, Maleva, what did you do? So then we will then go and collect it. So the collections, the outstanding of my invoices issued out is that the collections certainly is what we then got in return, but the outstanding invoices given to these farmers is that this is also over the years, not just one. So these invoices will be issued to say levying, and then the farmer doesn't pay, so they are outstanding.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
So all the outstanding invoices, as we speak, like now, they are still outstanding, and there is no picture that they will be settled.
So on our part, Chair and Honorable, is that the capacity to go and collect is the one that was limited. So we have now since recruited these accountants, which are based at district level, to ensure that they actually go to their farmers. We have now said put every farmer in a database. So in a district, the accounting is a shorter database, so that they can be able now to follow up. So at the moment it's still outstanding, but we hope that it will improve now with the personnel on the ground. The only challenge is that these accountants, when they were trained, they anticipated to be employed in town. So the take-up rate of these costs becomes problematic. So the 46, so we got 16 taken up. The rest are still, so they're still vacant. But we hoped that by putting the accountants on the ground, we'll be able to recover from this. But so at the moment, yes, it's still outstanding. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe just a follow-up. So with the because we want to, if for example with the new policy that has been announced, where you are going to consider a title, because those who are outstanding with their levies, and I think there must be a recommendation regarding those people. So my question is, you can quickly, I'm sure do you have a list of those that are still in arrears, both the small scale, big farmers, so that when we do our recommendation in the report, then let us know what is the situation. Because if you are farming, you are not paying levy, then we do anyone to pay people that we have my title. And I'm sure that aspect must help you to collect enough revenue.
Thank you, Chair. They have given us good guidance on how we should proceed with the new tender. Although it's so it's very plus what you owe to be given the tenure document. We are still waiting for guidance to say how do we proceed, but certainly for us we will push that you must still settle what you owe. Thank you, Chair.
Professor, is the problem with the farmers or the problem is with your system?
Chair, I'm not sure the members in here, those who have farms, how many have paid their levies. So the propensity not to pay levies is endemic in our farmers. They don't want to pay. So any excuse they will not pay. But it's also within our system. You know, we are talking here of the structural system where we are saying account is not there. But in the absence of the accountant at district level, there's always an accountant at the province, an accountant at the head office, and the accounting officer at the helm. So that cannot be an excuse, but again, it's happening. So it's also a people's issue within our system. And then we have also said we now need a proper database, which we have now purchased in the system, so that we now can say this one is outstanding in terms of rate, this one is doing this. So yes, it's all of that, Chair. It's not just the farmers, it's not just us. We also have been allowed to purchase the system now. So all of that, Chair. Thank you.
I think it will be important for you, PS, to look at your system, whether it's really working, and do you have, for example, a list of the farmers who have benefited in terms of these farms? How many are they? Which ones have paid? Which ones have not paid? Have you ever written to any farmer to say you owe us money? What we call dunning of debtors. Have you ever done that? Because that's where the problem lies. You are perhaps just depending on the goodwill of the farmers to come and pay this. But what are you doing as a ministry? What system do you have in place to build these farmers on an annual basis and to follow up whenever that those invoices do not be paid?
So thank you, Chair. We certainly have the list of farmers, of these farmers. What we probably lack is a good database of invoicing. So that is what we are also correcting by purchasing and instituting the Palladium system. Following up we do, and there is always the outcry, particularly from farmers who think that it's their right to have the land and do nothing, and pay nothing. So recently I think the children and farmers up in arms and for the last 3 years and asking up at Mukasadaro farmers Tora and all that. It's always so following up we do, but these things quickly turn political. When we go, our officers go there to demand these levies. But we do follow up with our district people. They always do that. But we can do more. Thank you, Chair.
Okay.